The first time Ronan Kincaid saw June Alder, she was kneeling under the dining table of Cairnwell House with a silver spoon in her hand and dawn trembling against the windows. He had come downstairs too early because he could not sleep beneath the painted eyes of dead strangers. Cairnwell stood above the village of Merrodine on a wind-bent hill with black ivy on its towers and a mile of orchard trees twisted like old hands against the winter sky. Ronan's father called it a neglected asset. His mother called it tragic grandeur. Ronan called it a liability with chimneys. The girl under the table startled when his boot stopped in the doorway. The spoon slipped from her fingers and rang against the floorboards. "I'm sorry, sir," she whispered, scrambling out with her face lowered. "I thought no one was awake." Ronan bent, picked up the spoon, and held it out. "Neither did I." She took it without letting their fingers touch. Her hands were work-reddened, marked by a burn near the thumb and a scratch across one knuckle. Her gray uniform was clean, but mended at the cuffs. Her dark hair was tied with a plain ribbon at the nape of her neck, and she kept her shoulders drawn in, as if she had learned to make herself narrow in rooms where others expanded easily. "You don't have to polish the legs of a table," he said. "My family will not inspect that far." The maid glanced at the long walnut table with a strange protectiveness. "Mrs. Tull says everything shows in the morning light." "Mrs. Tull sounds strict. She keeps the house running. And you?" "I help where I'm told." The answer should have ended the conversation. A maid, a buyer's son, a cold dining room waiting for people with money. Yet Ronan noticed a small ledger, half hidden beneath a folded napkin, filled with neat columns and sketches. West parapet crack, nursery ceiling sag, south glass house leak, kitchen boiler failing. She saw him notice it and flushed. "Staff inventory?" he asked. "House inventory," she murmured, closing the ledger. "Ambitious." The word came out sharper than he intended. Her face closed at once. Ronan should have apologized. Instead, he heard his mother's warning from the previous night. "Do not be taken in by sentiment, Ronan. Old houses come with sob stories, loyal servants, and people trained to look helpless when money is mentioned." So he said nothing while the girl gathered the silver and disappeared through the green baize door. By breakfast, he had already failed her. The Kincaids entered the dining room like a family accustomed to being obeyed by architecture. Malcolm Kincaid came first, tall, dry-eyed, and impatient, his legal papers tucked beneath one arm. Helena followed in cream wool and pearls, smiling at the cracked plaster as if she had already selected the silk panels that would cover it. Ronan's sister, Cressida, trailed behind with a phone in her hand and boredom in her mouth. Rupert Say, the family solicitor, placed black-ribboned folders beside Malcolm's plate. They had come to finalize an acquisition understanding for Cairnwell House. According to Rupert, the Alder Trust was failing, and the estate manager had authority to negotiate. According to Helena, the Kincaids were rescuing a landmark. According to Malcolm, the village needed the jobs his private retreat would create once the East Wing became suites, the orchard became parking, and the glass house became a spa. Ronan had refused to sign until he saw the building himself. His name mattered because Kincaid Restoration, the part of the empire that saved old structures instead of stripping them, was legally his. Mrs. Harriet Tull, the housekeeper and temporary estate manager, entered with a ring of keys at her waist. The maid came behind her with coffee. "Oh," Cressida said, looking up. "Is this the shy one who grew up in the attics?" The maid went still. Mrs. Tull smiled without warmth. "June has been with the household since childhood, a charity matter originally. Beatrice Alder had soft spots she could ill afford. June." Now Ronan had her name. Malcolm unfolded his napkin. "Is she part of the staff liability?" Ronan looked at him. "Father." "It is a practical question," Mrs. Tull answered smoothly. "June is obedient. quiet, and useful. If the purchase proceeds, she could remain in service. The older staff trust her. Helena stirred her coffee. How quaint. A house that comes with its own timid little ghost. June's hand trembled around the coffee pot. Cressida gave a bright, careless laugh. Careful, Mama. Ronan likes damaged things. He restores them. Buildings, Ronan said, irritated. Not people. The words landed badly. June lowered her eyes. Helena, amused by the discomfort she had created, leaned back. Mrs. Tull told me Beatrice left sentimental notes about selling only to people with a heart for the house. Perhaps Ronan should prove his heart by marrying the maid. Then the acquisition would look romantic. Cressida laughed again. Rupert pretended not to hear. Mrs. Tull watched June with a warning in her eyes. June's face drained of color. It was a foolish, cruel joke, and Ronan knew it was aimed partly at him. He was tired of his mother turning every conscience he had into a leash. He was tired of his father's contempt. He looked at June standing frozen beside the table and for one stupid moment mistook her silence for participation in another family trap. A meek girl placed in his path so everyone could mock his softness. "I will not marry a maid to decorate a purchase," he said coldly. The room fell quiet. June's eyes lifted to him, wide and wounded. He should have stopped. He did not. "I don't want a wife who apologizes before she breathes. Leave her out of it." The coffee pot slipped. Brown heat splashed over the white cloth and ran toward Helena's gloves. Mrs. Tull hissed June's name. Malcolm shoved back his chair. "For God's sake, get her out before the signing." "I'm sorry," June whispered, reaching for napkins with shaking hands. "I'm so sorry." Ronan stood, shame rising too late. "It's all right." But June did not look at him. Mrs. Tull took her by the elbow and led her to the servants' door. On the threshold, June turned once, not to plead, not to accuse. She looked at the stained cloth, the polished table, the family seated around it, as if they already owned the air, and something changed in her face. The timid maid vanished for one breath. In her place stood a woman exhausted by the cost of silence. Then the green baize door closed. The signing was supposed to happen at noon in the library. Cairnwell's library smelled of dust, beeswax, and cold rain. A carved mantle bore the alder crest, a lantern between two thorn branches. Malcolm spread documents across the desk. Helena examined the walls. Rupert arranged pages with professional calm. Mrs. Tull stood by the window, her keys still at her waist. Ronan stared at the crest. He had seen that lantern that morning, pressed faintly into the cover of June's hidden ledger. "Where is the representative of the trust?" he asked. Rupert did not look up. "Delayed. We have sufficient authority from Mrs. Tull for a preliminary memorandum." "For an estate sale?" "For an acquisition understanding, which becomes an estate sale." Malcolm's eyes narrowed. "Do not perform integrity for the furniture." A knock cut through the room. An elderly solicitor entered in a weather-dark coat, carrying a tin document case. "Ambrose Pike, solicitor to the Alder Trust." Rupert's mouth tightened. "Mr. Pike, we were told you had retired." "I was told you had standards," the old man replied. "We all suffer disappointment." Cressida made a strangled sound that might have been laughter. Ambrose set his case on the desk. "Where is Miss Alder?" Mrs. Tull's expression shifted so quickly, Ronan almost missed it. Fear passed beneath her skin. "Miss Alder is not well," she said. She was well enough to inventory roof damage at dawn. Malcolm frowned. "Who is Miss Alder?" "The owner of Cairnwell House," Ambrose said. Silence entered the library. Helena laughed once. "I beg your pardon. The registered beneficial owner," Ambrose continued. Beatrice Alder's granddaughter, June Elspeth Alder. She reached full authority under the trust at midnight. No sale, lease, mortgage, development agreement, or acquisition memorandum concerning this estate can be executed without her direct consent. Ronan felt the room tilt. The maid, Mrs. Tull, stepped forward. "This is inappropriate." "It is exact," Ambrose said, "especially since I have received copies of documents bearing Miss Alder's alleged signature on sale instructions she states she never saw." Rupert closed one folder. "There may be confusion. Mrs. Tull represented. Mrs. Tull was never trustee. She was a salaried housekeeper granted temporary operational authority during Miss Alder's minority. That authority expired last night." The library door opened again. June stood there in the gray uniform. She had washed the coffee from her sleeves, but a pale stain remained near her apron hem. Her hair had loosened around her face. She looked frightened, but not uncertain. Ambrose's voice softened. "Miss Alder?" Every Kincaid turned. June stepped into the library. Mrs. Tull found speech first. "June, you should not be here dressed like that." June looked at her. "You locked my blue dress in the cedar press." The words were quiet. They were also devastating. No one apologized. Wealth rarely knows what to do in the first seconds, after mistaking a person for the floor. Ambrose opened his case. "Miss Alder asked me to attend because she suspected the house was being negotiated without her." "Suspected?" Malcolm said. "She was serving coffee." June folded her hands. "People say more in front of servants." Ronan could not move. His father recovered enough to become practical. "Miss Alder, if this is true, then you should understand that this estate is beyond your means. The roof is failing. The staff is underpaid. The village needs the work a development would bring. Sentiment will not heat these rooms." June's fingers pressed together. "I know which rooms are cold, Mr. Kincaid. I have carried coal to them." Helena smiled thinly. "My dear, now that all identities are clear, perhaps we can discuss a generous arrangement." June's gaze moved to Ronan. "Mr. Kincaid made his position clear at breakfast," she said. Ronan felt the sentence enter him like a blade. "I did," he said, "and I was wrong." June lowered her eyes. "No, you were honest." Ambrose placed a document on the desk. "Miss Alder will not sign today. She will review all attempted instruments. Mrs. Tull will provide keys, accounts, correspondence, and staff records by 4 o'clock. Mrs. Tull's face hardened. "You foolish girl. You have no idea what it costs to keep a place like this alive." June did not step back, though Ronan saw her breath catch. "Maybe not," she said. "But it wasn't yours to sell while I learned." The Kincaids left in fragments. Cressida went first, horrified and fascinated. Helena paused beside June long enough to say, "A uniform can be taken off, Miss Alder. Manners are harder to acquire." June did not answer. When the room was almost empty, Ronan stopped several feet from her. He understood too late that distance could be the only respectful thing he had to offer. "Miss Alder," he said. She looked at the stained hem of her apron. "I'm sorry." "For rejecting me?" she asked. "Or for doing it where everyone could enjoy it?" His mouth went dry. "For both. And for assuming you were part of a game my family was playing." "I was part of it," June said. "I was the part no one was supposed to count." Then she turned back to Ambrose and asked whether the cedar press could be opened without damaging the hinges. Ronan returned to London that night and failed to forget her. For 3 days he sat through meetings, while June's quiet sentences moved through his mind. His father raged. Helena claimed June had staged the revelation. Rupert spoke of technicalities, and Cressida sent a message that read, We tried to buy a mansion from the Maid. Literature is alive and laughing at us. Ronan did not laugh. On the fourth morning, a parcel arrived at his office. Inside was the ledger he had seen at breakfast, wrapped in brown paper. On the first page, in June's precise handwriting, were the words, "For your professional opinion, not your pity." June knew the house like a body knows pain. She had ranked repairs not by grandeur, but by danger, and sketched the cracked tiles, bent hinges, orchard wall, servant's stair, and a tiny triangular room beneath the back steps, labeled, "Do not forget." Ronan drove to Cairnwell at dusk. June opened the kitchen door holding a poker. Without her maid's apron, she looked younger and more exposed, in a navy dress too short at the sleeves. But the iron key on a ribbon at her throat gave her a strange severity. "I deserved that," he said, eyeing the poker. "I thought you were Mrs. Tull. Does she still have keys?" "Not to the main house. She refuses to return the linen inventory and says several spoons belong to her personally." Dangerous woman. June almost smiled. It vanished quickly, but he saw it. "I read the ledger," he said. "You need a structural survey before the next hard freeze." "I know. And an honest contractor." "I know that too." He waited in the cold until she opened the door wider. "You may come in for 10 minutes. Mrs. Pembroke is here." "Chaperone?" "Cook. But she owns 3 rolling pins and dislikes your family." Mrs. Pembroke disliked the Kincaids with magnificent efficiency. She was round, red-cheeked, and chopping onions as if they had betrayed her personally. She ordered Ronan to remove his boots before crossing her kitchen floor. June sat with him at the scrubbed pine table. Rows of keys hung newly labeled on the wall. "You changed the locks," he said. "Ambrose did. And Mrs. Tull. She moved out after writing 3 letters saying I will be ruined by Easter. Will you? Probably by March if the boiler gives out." The honesty startled him. "I can provide a survey," he said. "No charge." "No, it would not be charity." "Then invoice me." "You cannot afford my invoices." Her chin lifted. "Then reduce your opinion of your own importance." From the stove, Mrs. Pembroke made a sound, suspiciously like joy. Ronan looked at June and saw what he should have seen at breakfast. The shyness was still there, in the way loud sounds made her blink, and the way she chose words carefully. But beneath it was a compact, steady will his family had mistaken for emptiness. "I will send a preliminary assessment contract," he said. "You may reject every clause you dislike." "I dislike most clauses. Ambrose can help." "Ambrose dislikes more clauses than I do." "Good." The next morning, Ronan returned with engineers, and no Kincaid crest on the car. June met them at the front door, not the servant's entrance. Her fried blue dress was faded, but dignified. The iron key rested against her throat. They spent the day measuring cracks, lifting rugs, and climbing stairs that complained underfoot. At first, the engineers addressed Ronan. By noon, they were addressing June. "This beam is original," one said in the West Wing. "Replacement will be difficult." "There is a matching beam in the closed dairy roof," June answered. "It fell during the storm of 1998. Mr. Vallant stored it because grandmother said old wood deserves a second use." Ronan looked at her. "You have spare 16th century oak in a dairy?" "I have many things people called useless." No one laughed. At dusk, he found her in the old nursery. A faded border of painted birds ran along the wall. One corner of the ceiling sagged. "You should not stand under that plaster," he said. "I know where it falls." "That is not comforting." She touched a child's chair with one broken arm. "This was my room until I was 6. After my mother died, Mrs. Tull moved me upstairs." "To the attics?" "To the linen room first, then the small room under the eaves when guests came." Did you know you owned the house? No. Grandmother Beatrice told me stories. She called me Little Lantern. Mrs. Tull said illness had confused her. I learned not to repeat the stories. When did you find out? Last year. Ambrose sent a birthday letter. Mrs. Tull burned it, but the footman's boy saved the envelope for the stamp. Ambrose sent another to the village post office. I started writing to him secretly. And still you served breakfast. June looked at the painted birds. I wanted to hear what people would do to the house if they thought no one powerless was listening. Ronan had no defense. Why did you say it? She asked. He knew exactly what she meant. The rejection had followed them into every cold room. Because I thought if I sounded hard enough, no one could use my conscience against me, he said. I made myself cruel before they could call me weak. June considered this. My mother used to say, proud people are often frightened of small rooms. What did she mean? I don't know. I was 5. I thought she meant cupboards. A laugh escaped him. June's mouth curved, brief and unwilling. That smile changed the room more than any restoration could. The weeks that followed were damp, expensive, and full of bad news. The boiler died. The laundry ceiling collapsed into a tub. 3 staff members had not been properly paid because Mrs. Tull had diverted wages into reserve accounts no one else could access. June listened to every report and wrote everything down. She refused to sell the sledding woods, sold Beatrice's porcelain instead, and moved the estate accounts after a banker suggested she needed a protective male co-signer. Ronan watched with a feeling he first mistook for guilt, then recognized as admiration. He came to Cairnwell 3 times a week, then 4. He sent invoices so modest, June returned them corrected upward. He learned she hated lilies because Mrs. Tull used them to cover the smell of damp, and loved the ruined glass house because her mother had planted herbs there in chipped cups. He also learned that one apology did not heal a public wound. In the village market, 2 women whispered that she was the maid who had tricked the Kincaids. Ronan stepped forward, but June's glance stopped him. Do not rescue me so loudly that I vanish again. She turned to the women. I did not trick anyone. I listened. There is a difference. One muttered that no offense was meant. Offense is usually meant when it is enjoyed, June said, then handed Ronan the flower and walked on. That evening, he found her in the glass house trying to save frozen rosemary. Snow pressed against broken panes. Her fingers were red from the cold. You were magnificent today, he said. I was terrified. Both can be true. June looked down at the plants. Mrs. Tull said a quiet woman is safe. She lied. Yes, June said, but safety can become a habit. Ronan knelt near her, leaving space. What do you want Cairnwell to become? I want the staff paid before chandeliers are cleaned, she said. I want the east rooms opened to villagers who cannot heat their homes. I want the orchard kept. I want the attics made into proper rooms no child is ashamed to sleep in. I want this house to stop teaching people where they are allowed to stand. That is expensive. I know. Who are you asking to fund this? She looked at him through the frost-dim glass. I thought I was asking myself. The first threat arrived 2 days later in an envelope thick enough to feel important. Rupert Say, writing for Northmere Holdings, alleged that Beatrice Alder had signed a binding pre-sale option before her death, and that June was required to honor it. Attached were copies of signatures, witness statements, and a map dividing Cairnwell into development zones. The orchard was marked for demolition, the glass house for removal, the servants' wing for luxury suites. June read the papers at the kitchen table, while Mrs. Pembroke stood behind her like a cannon loaded with flour. Ambrose adjusted his spectacles. The signature is not Beatrice's. How can you tell? Ronan asked. She never crossed her A like a ladder. Also, On the date indicated, she was bedridden and unable to hold a pen. Ronan picked up the map. Faint beneath the copied lines were the same red markings he had seen in his father's study before they came to Cairnwell. "I have seen this," he said. June looked at him. "My father had this map." "Mrs.," Pembroke muttered. "Wolves do tend to travel in packs." That night, Ronan drove to London and placed the document on Malcolm Kincaid's desk. "Did you know this was forged?" he asked. Malcolm did not look at it. "Careful. That is not an answer. It is advice." "Did you know?" Malcolm sighed. "Old estates are never clean. There are forgotten promises, unpaid debts, emotional claims. If the Alder girl cannot maintain the property, sale is inevitable. Her name is June. She served us coffee, Ronan. She owns the house. For now?" The words were soft. They were also a threat. Ronan felt the last thread of childhood obedience pull tight. "If you are behind this, I will testify. Against your family, against fraud. Do not become sentimental because a pretty servant cried in your library." "She did not cry." "No. Women like that learn when to cry. It is currency." Ronan thought of June in the nursery, June at the bank, June standing in the market with flour in her hands. His father's cynicism, once so intimidating, suddenly seemed like a cramped room pretending to be a fortress. "I am withdrawing Kincaid Restoration from every Cairnwell acquisition effort," he said. "Publicly." Malcolm's eyes hardened. "You do that, and you lose more than a project." "I know. Your shares are not as protected as you think." "I know that too." The announcement appeared in the business pages the next morning. By noon, the gossip sites had rewritten it in simpler blood. Kincaid, son chooses. Maid heiress over family fortune. Rejected maid now holds the keys. Shy servant turns Lady of Cairnwell. June found the headlines because someone pushed them under the kitchen door. She did not cry in front of the staff. She went to the laundry, closed the door, and sat on the floor with her hands over her face. Ronan found her there an hour later and stopped in the doorway. "I hate that word," she said. "Which word?" "Shy." Her voice broke. "They say it as if it means empty. As if I had no thoughts. Not as if every thought was punished." He crouched a few feet away. "I thought it too, the first morning. That you were simply frightened." "I am frightened." "I know, but not simply." "No," he said, "never simply." She wiped her face angrily. "I don't want to be the maid who became interesting because rich people were wrong." "What do you want me to do?" The question was careful. He had learned not to arrive with solutions like banners. June looked at him. "Find out who had my grandmother's seal." The seal was not in the study, the safe, the silver room, or the cedar press where June's dress had been locked. It was not among Beatrice's mourning jewelry or old account books. They found the first proof in the triangular cupboard beneath the back stairs. June had labeled that room, "Do not forget," and avoided explaining why. When Ronan pried open the swollen door, dust and old soap breathed out. A rolled mattress lay against one wall. Pencil marks lined a board. June 7th, June 8th, June 9th. Then a gap. Then June 12th, written smaller. He understood before she spoke. "She put you here?" "When important guests came," June said, or when I answered back. His hand tightened on the doorframe until splinters pressed his palm. "How old were you?" "Old enough to count. Too young to know counting was not the same as leaving." She stepped past him and reached behind a loose board. From the hollow space, she drew a biscuit tin. Inside were 2 letters from Ambrose, a child's drawing of the house with smoke rising from every chimney, a faded blue ribbon, a torn ledger page, and a small ivory chess knight wrapped in cloth. Ronan turned the chess piece over. Scratched into the base were the initials J-E-A. Mine, June said. Grandmother gave it to me. Mrs. Tull said it belonged to the library set. The torn ledger page listed missing household keys and dates. On the last line, June had written, "Grandmother's seal taken from blue writing desk. H.T.R.S. M.K. present. H.T. Harriet Tull. R.S. Rupert Saye. M.K. Malcolm Kincaid." June watched Ronan's face. "I did not know whether it meant your father." "It might. I almost burned the page after breakfast. Because of me." "Yes." He accepted the word because it was true. The legal fight grew uglier. Northmere filed to enforce the option. Mrs. Tull called June unstable in an interview, and a newspaper printed an old photograph of June in uniform under the caption, "From servants' hall to drawing room." Ronan wanted to shout, threaten, expose, destroy. Instead, he asked, "What is the next useful thing?" June looked at the injunction notice, the bank letter, and 3 bowls catching rain from the kitchen roof. "The east wing has dry rooms," she said. "Not many." "Enough. Mrs. Bellwether broke her hip and cannot climb to her flat. The vicar's sister needs heat. Mr. Vallant's grandson is coming home from hospital and needs a ground floor room. If we open rooms to winter boarders, we prove public benefit and bring in income. You are turning a mansion under legal attack into a refuge. I am turning empty rooms into rooms." So Cairnwell changed. Fires burned in chambers closed for years. The ballroom became a study hall when the village school roof leaked. Mrs. Pembroke made soup in alarming quantities. Ronan built temporary ramps with the gardeners, and June kept accounts until midnight. The house stopped feeling like a monument and began feeling like a body with blood moving through it. One evening, June found Ronan in the ballroom teaching Mr. Vallant's grandson, Sam, to build a bridge from firewood scraps. Sam had a brace on one leg and distrusted cheerful adults. Ronan was not cheerful. "The triangle holds because it refuses to pretend pressure is not there," Ronan said. Sam frowned. "That sounds stupid, but the bridge works." "Engineers are often stupid in useful ways." June laughed. Ronan looked up, sawdust on his sleeve, firelight softening his face. For once, he did not look like a man resisting his family. He looked like a man free of them. Later, when Sam had gone for soup, June asked, "Were you always good with children?" "My brother had a brace for 2 years after an accident." "I didn't know you had a brother." "Had." Ronan's gaze moved to the dark windows. "Elliot died when he was 14. We lived in a house called Greymont. He fell from the stable loft. I was supposed to be with him, but I had gone inside angry because he would not listen to me." June said nothing, and her silence let him continue. "He lived 6 months. After he died, my mother could not bear the hallway where it happened, and my father could not bear owning a place that made him feel helpless. They sold Greymont and began calling grief inefficient. My father started buying estates from families too sad to fight. I began restoring buildings because I wanted to prove not everything that hurts should be demolished." June looked around the ballroom, at the soup table, the homework, the repaired fire screen. "That is not a bad reason." "It is not enough." "No," she said, "but it is a beginning." The feeling between them grew after that, quiet and inconvenient. It lived in small acts. Ronan stopping at doors, June leaving dry jokes in repair notes, toast appearing beside ledgers, a blanket placed over his shoulders when he fell asleep over drainage plans. Nothing grand enough to refuse, nothing simple enough to name. At the preliminary hearing, the opposing barrister described June as inexperienced, vulnerable, and manipulated by Ronan's rebellion against his family. June sat in her altered blue dress with the iron key at her throat. When Ambrose called her to speak, Her voice was quiet enough that the judge leaned forward. She described the hidden letters, the locked dress, the breakfast, the ledger, and the room beneath the stairs. She did not embellish. "Miss Alder," the barrister said, "is it not true that affection has developed between you and Mr. Kincaid?" Ronan's hands tightened in the row behind her. June looked at the barrister. "I deny that my capacity to own a house depends on whether I am loved." The judge's pen paused. The hearing did not end the case, but it changed its weather. The court barred any sale activity and ordered production of communications between Northmere, Rupert Say, Mrs. Tull, and all Kincaid entities. Outside, reporters waited in the rain. "Did you hide as a maid to trap the Kincaids?" one shouted. "No," June said. "I worked as a maid because the people managing my life preferred me on my knees. I listened because listening was the only power they forgot to forbid." Another called, "Are you and Ronan Kincaid engaged?" "No. Mr. Kincaid is employed to help repair a roof." Ronan bowed his head solemnly. "A demanding position." June smiled before she could hide it. That smile caused more gossip than any kiss could have. The proof that broke the case came from the nursery ceiling. During an April storm, the plaster finally gave way in the fenced-off room. Behind the fallen cornice, tied to a beam and wrapped in oilcloth, was a narrow parcel. June climbed the ladder before Ronan could stop her. "I am tired of people finding my life before I do," she said, and took it down herself. Inside were Beatrice Alder's final letter, medical notes, and a red cloth book kept by her companion, Tamsin Greaves. The medical notes stated that on the date of the alleged option, Beatrice had been heavily sedated after a seizure and incapable of legal consent. The red book recorded visitors in the library: Harriet Tull, Rupert Say, Malcolm Kincaid. It recorded the removal of the Alder seal. It recorded June being locked in the stair cupboard during commercial discussions. June read Beatrice's letter aloud in the library beneath the crest. "My little lantern, if this is found, then I failed to keep the path clear while I was alive. Forgive me. If they make you small, do not spend your life proving you are large. Open the rooms. Light the windows. Let the house answer for you." June pressed both hands flat over the page. For a long time, no one spoke. Then she looked at Ronan. "I don't want revenge to be the only reason I survive this." "It won't be." "How do you know?" "Because you were planning warm rooms before you had proof." The trial that followed was smaller than gossip wanted and sharper than the guilty hoped. A handwriting expert dismantled the forged signature. A nurse testified Beatrice could not hold a pen that day. The postmistress testified about letters to June being returned through Mrs. Tull. Cressida, shaking but clear, produced photographs from Malcolm's archive showing her father, Rupert, and Mrs. Tull in Cairnwell's library with the seal on the desk. Rupert, abandoned by everyone richer than himself, surrendered emails linking Northmere Holdings to a Kincaid subsidiary. The judge called the conduct deliberate concealment. The option was declared void. Cairnwell remained June's. The final public reckoning happened not at a ball, but in the service yard on a wet morning when court officers returned, recovered estate property. June chose the yard because it was where deliveries entered, where staff waited, where she had signed for goods bought with money she did not know was hers. On a long table lay the recovered letters, wage envelopes, blue wax seal, medical notes, Tamsin's red book, forged option, and ivory chestnut. Mrs. Tull stood beneath a black umbrella, smaller without her keys, but not softer. June faced her across the table. "Why keep me in service after you knew?" Mrs. Tull's lips thinned. "You were not fit to manage. I was a child. You were timid, easily led, always staring at walls as if they would speak. I gave my life to this house. I knew every linen count and loose hinge. Then a girl with the right blood was supposed to inherit because a dead woman said so? June looked down at her own hands, scarred by polish, coal, cold water, and broken glasshouse panes. "My hands are not soft," she said. For the first time, Mrs. Tull saw them. Shame crossed her face and turned to anger, because anger was easier. "You would have lost it in a year." "Maybe," June said, "but it was mine to learn." Malcolm stepped forward before his solicitor could stop him. "This display is unnecessary. The girl has her house. Must we perform penance in a yard?" Ronan moved to June's side, not in front of her. June picked up the ivory knight. Rain dotted its carved mane. "When I was little, I thought this was a horse that had forgotten how to run. My grandmother said it was a knight, and knights moved differently from everyone else. I asked if that meant they were lost. She said no. It meant they could reach places, straight lines, could not." She set it down between them. "You thought I could only move in straight lines," she said. "Kitchen to hall, hall to stairs, stairs to cupboard, maid to nothing. But I was listening. I was learning the turns." The officer asked Mrs. Tull to confirm the seal. She refused. Rupert confirmed it instead. A murmur passed through the yard. Malcolm looked at Ronan. "You are enjoying this?" "No," Ronan said. "I am mourning that it is necessary." That answer wounded Helena more than anger would have. She looked at her son, then at June, then at the house, as if realizing too late that victory had made her family smaller. The consequences came slowly, as consequences often do when powerful people are involved. Rupert lost his license. Mrs. Tull accepted judgment and left Marrodine without farewell. Malcolm resigned from 2 boards when investors discovered fraud was only unacceptable once visible. Helena remained with him, less from loyalty than from architecture. Some people live inside cages they spent decades gilding. Ronan lost money. His father cut financing, challenged shares, and froze projects. Ronan sold his London flat and lied badly about preferring smaller rooms. Cressida told June because she had never learned discretion. "You sold your home," June said one evening in the orchard, where the first blossoms opened pale against dark branches. "It was an apartment. It was yours. It had windows that stuck, and a neighbor who practiced clarinet at midnight." "Ronan," he looked at her. "Yes. For me. For myself," he said. "But because of you, I knew which self." Old fear rose in her. Debt had been another locked room. "I cannot be the reason you lose everything. You are not. People will say I am. People also said you tricked us by serving coffee. People are poor architects of truth." She folded her arms. "Do not turn this into one of your bridge sentences." His mouth curved. "The triangle holds—" "Don't." He grew serious. "My family money always had a hook in it. I thought I could hold the part without the barb. I was wrong. Losing it hurts. It also frees my hands." June looked at the man who had once wounded her because he feared being used, now standing poorer, quieter, and more himself. "I am still angry about breakfast sometimes," she said. "I know. Not all was at you. Sometimes at the girl who stood there and took it." "Do not be cruel to her," Ronan said. "She survived long enough to become you." Tears blurred the orchard. "You make it hard to remain sensibly guarded. I can stand farther away and say something arrogant. That might help. I once believed table legs did not matter." She laughed, and when she stepped toward him, he held her carefully. Their first kiss came later, after Helena visited Cairnwell privately and offered June enough money to sell the East acreage, save Malcolm's pride, and let Ronan come home before he destroyed himself over a house. June received Helena in the repaired half of the glass house, where Rosemary had survived the winter in chipped pots. "Would you ask this if I had been born in a dress instead of an apron?" June asked. Helena's silence answered. "Then my answer is no." Ronan waited by the orchard wall because June had asked him not to listen. "She offered money," June said when she came out. "I assumed." "And your inheritance." "I assumed. That too." "I said no. I hoped." The wind moved through the branches. June studied his face. "Does it hurt?" "Yes." Her throat tightened. "But not as much as becoming what he rewards." Something in her softened and frightened itself. Ronan stepped back, mistaking the fear for refusal. June caught his sleeve. "I am not afraid of you," she said. He did not move. "I am afraid of wanting something while everyone is watching what it costs. Then we can wait. I have waited my whole life to feel allowed in my own rooms." She rose on her toes and kissed him. It was not public, not proof, not a seal on a contract. It was brief and trembling and chosen. Ronan did not pull her closer until she leaned first. Then his arms came around her with a restraint that broke her heart more than hunger would have. When they parted, June laughed once against his coat, half joy, half terror. "I thought kissing would make me less afraid." "Did it?" "No." She looked up. "But I am less lonely in it." Cairnwell did not become grand overnight. Restoration was slow, uneven, and often unromantic. Grants were applied for and rejected. The kitchen roof was patched twice. June learned tax law with grim focus. Ronan taught village children to read building plans. Mrs. Pembroke organized volunteers like a general, and Ambrose threatened committees into usefulness. June refused to become either the maid people pitied or the lady they expected. She wore practical dresses, kept her own keys, attended staff meetings, scrubbed paint from her hands, and sat at the head of the dining table only after every worker had been paid. The closed east rooms became winter lodgings, then apprentice rooms for restoration trades. The triangular cupboard beneath the stairs became storage for blankets and games, its door painted bright yellow by Sam, who said dark little rooms deserved insulting brightness. The dining room where Ronan had rejected her remained unused for almost a year, not because June feared it, but because she was waiting until it could hold a different memory, without pretending the first had never happened. On the first anniversary of the morning, she inherited everything and nearly lost it. June opened the dining room for supper. Half the silver had been sold, and the long table held mismatched plates, beeswax candles, stew, bread, apples from the orchard, and small pots of rosemary. Staff sat beside villagers, children beside elders, Ronan beside Ambrose, Cressida beside Mrs. Pembroke under strict supervision near the gravy. June stood by the sideboard holding a spoon. For a moment, the room folded back on itself. Coffee on white cloth, Helena's laughter, Malcolm's contempt, Ronan's cold voice, her own apology falling from her mouth because apology had been trained into her bones. Ronan rose, then stopped. Across the room, his eyes asked a question. June breathed once and tapped the spoon against her glass. "I used to think this room belonged to people who never spilled anything," she said. "I was wrong. Rooms belong to whoever is fed in them, whoever is safe in them, whoever is allowed to speak without earning the right first. Tonight, no one serves from the shadows. We pass plates. We make room. And if anything spills, we clean it together." For a heartbeat, silence held. Then Sam banged his spoon on the table, and the old room rang with silver and laughter. After supper, when the candles were low, and Mrs. Pembroke was accusing Cressida of gravy theft, June slipped into the hall. Ronan found her by the front door, looking at the dark drive. "Too much?" he asked. "Almost." "Do you want quiet?" "Yes." she turned. "With you." They walked to the glass house beneath a sky bright with winter stars. Inside, the repaired panes held back the cold. Rosemary and thyme filled the benches. At the center, on a work table, stood the cracked saucer June had kept from Beatrice's porcelain collection. In it lay the iron key she had worn through the trial. Ronan noticed. "You took it off." "It opened the cedar press," she said. "Mrs. Tull used it to lock away my dress. I wore it because I needed to remember what had been done. And now? Now, I want new keys." He reached into his coat and removed a plain brass key on a dark ribbon. June stared. "The front door key?" "The one you gave me for contractor access." "Why are you giving it back?" "Because the first contract is complete. The gutters are not." "The first contract," he said. "The one written when you did not trust me and needed a roof survey." June looked from the key to his face. "I would like a new agreement," Ronan said. "Professional?" "No." Her breath caught. "I will not ask you in the dining room," he said. "Not in court, not before reporters, not as payment for choosing your side. I will not make love sound like rescue, and I will not pretend I saw you clearly before I did." His hand trembled slightly around the key. "I love you," he said. "Not because you own Carenwell, not because you survived it, not because loving you makes me noble. I love you because when you enter a room, every false thing in me wants to leave before you make it answer a question." June laughed through sudden tears. "That is the least romantic confession I have ever heard." "I can try again." "Don't." It was terrible and exact. He smiled, but his eyes were afraid. June picked up the iron key from the saucer, then took the brass key from his hand. She held them both in her palm, the key that had locked away her dress, and the key that had opened the front door to a man learning not to force his way through it. "I love you too," she said. The words surprised her with their simplicity. No thunder, no bargain, no witness. Just truth standing in a warm glass house among herbs that had survived winter. Ronan closed his eyes for a moment, as if the sentence had given him more than he knew how to hold. June stepped closer. "But I'm not marrying you because you returned a key." "I did not ask marriage. I know. I am clarifying before Cressida plans something unforgivable. She would. I want time, ordinary mornings, arguments about invoices and gutters. I want to learn who I am when I am not proving anything." Ronan touched her hand, only when she turned it toward him. "Then we begin there. And one day," June added, "if we marry, no one will say you acquired the house through romance. God forbid. You will sign something saying so." I expected nothing less. She leaned into him, laughing softly, and he kissed her beneath the patched roof of the glass house, while the mansion beyond them glowed window by window. Years later, people in Meroden told the story badly, because stories often become simpler when passed from mouth to mouth. They said a rich man rejected a shy maid, and then learned she owned the mansion his family wanted. They said he fell in love because she was secretly an heiress. They said she forgave him because he was handsome and sorry. They pointed at Carenwell House, alive with apprentices, winter lodgers, repaired chimneys, open suppers, and children racing through halls no longer divided by fear, and called it a fairy tale with legal documents. June did not correct every version. She had learned that people who need a simple story rarely thank you for giving them a true one. But when a new apprentice arrived shy and watchful, standing near the kitchen door, as if waiting to be told where not to breathe, June would hand them a key to some harmless cupboard and say, "Start by opening something." And sometimes, before dawn, Ronan would find her in the dining room checking the table legs because old habits can become tenderness when chosen differently. He would wait in the doorway until she looked up. "You know," he would say, My family would still call this a poor investment. June would run her hand over the polished wood, remembering coffee, shame, and the clear ring of a spoon against glass. Then they never understood what was being bought back, she would answer. Outside, the orchard moved in the wind. Inside, the house held them without asking either of them to become small.